Line 133 begins the definition of our picture callback event handler, which implements the camera.pictureCallback interface, and that contains just one method, the onPictureTaken method that you see here at line 136. This method receives as its arguments the raw image data, as well as the camera that we used to take the picture. And remember, there are two cameras on many devices nowadays, a forward-facing camera that looks back at the user, and a rear-facing camera that looks away from the user. Now, when the picture gets taken, we're going to create a file name to use for that new image, and rather than prompting the user to give us a file name, we're just using the word slideshow followed by an underscore and the system's current time in milliseconds, so basically a timestamp. Then at line 142, we start creating a content values object that configures information about the image that we are going to store momentarily. So we have to specify the title, the date that the image was added, and also the MIME type of the image as well. At line 148 and 149, we use that content values object to help get a URI representing the actual location where the image file will be placed. And we do that by calling the content resolver's insert method, and we give it two arguments in this case. One says to tell us where the external content gets placed, typically like an SD card, and then the other is the values object that we configured up above, which specifies information about the file we're writing out. Now, in our try block, we attempt to do the actual file processing. First, we get an output stream that is going to be used to write the data. And we do that by going to the content resolver and calling its open output stream method with the URI we just obtained before the try block. We then write out the image data array, which blasts out all of the bytes of the image to the storage on the device. And then finally we flush the output stream to ensure that all those bytes are written out, and we close it to complete the task of writing the data. Then at line 161 through 163, we create an intent object that we use to return data back to the calling activity. We, on that object, call setData, passing in the URI, which represents where the new image is located. And remember, we need that information back in the slideshow app to insert the new image that we just took into the slideshow. So we take the image URI and get the string representation of it to store in our media item objects. And then finally at line 163 we show you how to specify the result of an activity. So remember, we launch the picture activity with start activity for result, so we need to give a result back to be handled by the calling activity. And we do that with setResult, which takes two arguments, a constant representing whether the result was OK or canceled, for example. Result.OK or result_OK means that in fact this activity performed its task correctly, and return intent is the data that's getting sent back to the calling activity. And then to indicate that we wrote the image out to disk, we display a toast, and we call finish, which terminates the PictureTaker activity and returns back to the calling activity. If there were any I/O exceptions, we would also set the result to result canceled and then display a toast indicating that there was a problem. Now, we did mention that it is possible to use the built-in camera activity to take a picture rather than doing what we showed you here. And in fact, if we just go over to this PDF document for a moment, here are 3 lines of code that you could use in your own app to indicate that you want to launch the built-in device capability for taking a picture. So we can create an intent for the mediastore.actionImageCapture constant, and that indicates that we want to capture an image. We can then put an extra into that intent which specifies the location where we want the image data to be placed. And then finally we can start activity for result with that intent and whatever request code we specify, and that of course is going to launch the intent that we just created up above, and in turn should cause the device to display its camera picture taking activity.